It wasn't really a prayer, but maybe it was. I had just completed my junior year of college, and all my friends had packed up and gone home for the summer, yet I alone remained behind. Because I was in the employ of my landlord, and I had a lot of back rent to work off. So I was there by myself, and one night, I decided to go to a late movie, and I don't remember what the movie was, but came out of the movie, and it was this beautiful evening, gorgeous evening. Temperature was perfect, the light breeze. There was nobody on the street as I walked home. And this just prayer or feeling came over me, and I said, I so wish to spend my life with someone. Now, maybe it wasn't that melodramatic. Maybe it was more like, damn, I wish I had a girlfriend. And I wasn't talking about any grand plan to, settle down or get married or anything like that. It wasn't about sex. No, it wasn't about that. But it was just a simple wish in that moment that I just wanted to share my life with someone, and not a friend, just a love interest. I'm somewhat extroverted, fairly gregarious, and at college I made friends with a lot of different people in a lot of different cliques. I was a chemical engineer. I was friends with my chemical engineering buddies. I was also friends with people on the football team. I never joined a fraternity, but I was good friends with many people in different fraternities, different sororities. I don't know, it just came natural to me to make friends, acquaintances across these different cliques. Except when I was in the presence of a particular love interest of mine. Anytime I would be around someone that I wanted to have a relationship with, I froze. And I was like a chameleon. I could change my color and disappear into the background. Make myself invisible. So freezing and disappearing into the background sounds like a good plan, huh? To meet your love interest. So you can imagine the results. Not very good. So I'm walking home after the movie that night thinking these thoughts. And later that week, just a few days later, a young woman walked into my life and swept me away. And is this an answered prayer? I don't know. I can't say that that's been my experience in life, but this one apparently was answered. And it was like puppy love, okay? It didn't make any sense. It was the first time I was ever really in love. And we spent every moment together, so much for working off my rent. I didn't do that. But we spent every moment together for about 3 weeks. And then I had to actually go back home to Pittsburgh because I did have a job lined up for the summer. So during the summer, we visited. She lived in Philadelphia. She's actually from Atlanta originally. But she lived in Philadelphia. I lived in Pittsburgh. We saw each other every other week. We wrote every other day. We wrote letters back then, okay? There was no email. And we talked on the phone every night. And more than anything else, we raged at the gods who conspired to keep us apart. Well, we eventually broke up. Yeah, that happens. And I will say I had never hurt that much in my life up until that point. It was really very hard for me. It was my first love. Even puppy love hurts. I didn't want to get out of bed in the morning for actually about 2 or 3 months. And I did. But eventually, I don't know what happened, but my skies brightened and I felt like myself again and happy. I was alone, but I felt happy. But then, not long after that, this other woman comes into my life. It was amazing. Now, she didn't have the same qualities that my first love had, but she had different qualities that my first love didn't have. It was different and beautiful, and we were in love. And then we broke up. our paths just diverged in this case. You know, being a young adult at that time, well, at any time, it's a very complex time. You're in such transitions. We knew that could happen. And we accepted that as our fate. And yeah, we had to part ways. Fate parted us. This story seems to repeat itself again and again and again in, well, my life and probably in your life too. I don't think I'm unique. Love sweeps us away, then love sweeps us aside. We fall in love, we fall out of love, and we don't have a lot of control over it. And it's scary, it's risky, and it can hurt. It can hurt. Valentine's Day is coming up. Valentine's Day can be a problematic holiday for many folks, depending upon where you are. Swept away, swept aside, falling in, falling out. And sometimes it can feel like you're on a not so merry go round. Now, at its root, the Buddhists think that suffering comes from attachments, being attached to things. And maybe I haven't read enough about it, or maybe it's lost in translation, but I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that suffering comes from when we delude ourselves into thinking that our attachments are permanent. That our attachments are permanent. We fall in love, or we get attached to things, and we think that they'll never change. And we deny the fact that things will change and things will come to an end. And that's bad news. That, if we call the Gospels the good news, that would be the bad news. But those things will change and come to an end. And the Buddhists would say, but the good news is there's always more in the present moment right now that you're missing. There's more people to meet, experiences to have, food to taste. And that's all available right now, right here. Think of the implications. So very soon, you'll be walking outside and you'll see it. The first spring flowers. Hopefully they haven't already popped up already. Maybe they have. But up north, where I'm from, you'd be walking, and this would be early March, and snow would be on the ground, and you'd see daffodils. And it would be like, it would take your breath away. It's like, daffodils. Just the beauty of the daffodil coming up through the snow. And soon, you'll probably see that here, coming up out of the mud. It would have been great if they came yesterday. Yesterday was beautiful. In anywhere, the first snow of the year, even up north, it's like that. It's gorgeous. But that's what the first daffodil feels like. But what if the flower were unchanging? Like it looked that same way every day, exactly the same. Could it take your breath away in its permanence? Think of your favorite song, whatever it is. What if that were the only song and you had to listen to that song every day, all the time? When you said, Alexa, play music, that song came on. And when that song ended, that song came on again and again. Think of your favorite movie. Could you watch it again and again? When you turn on the TV and you click your guide, you see nothing but Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And then you scan forward ahead to see what's tonight. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I mean, it couldn't be beautiful for you because it couldn't have any meaning. It had no context. So it reminds me of the movie Groundhog Day. Probably many of you have seen it, where the miserable and really at his root fearful character played by Bill Murray has to live the same day over and over and over again. Has anybody seen this movie? Anybody? Most people have, okay. Yeah, the same thing over and over and over again. He gets trapped in permanence. Yet in his endlessly repeating day, he begins to notice the fragility and the preciousness of the things that were impermanence in his previous life, the things that he'd never even noticed. Now he begins to notice those things and how precious they are in his previous life, and he yearns to get back to his previous life. At one time, I was fearful and, well, I was like a chameleon in certain circumstances, and I would disappear into the background. Now, the poem that was read earlier by Sophia kind of alludes to this fear. Tony Hoagland, the author, he says, "Thank God I got those holes sealed through which each passerby could see my neediness." Thank God I got those holes all sealed up, which each passerby could see my neediness. And thank God I banished you into that frozen part of me where nothing moves or breathes. Luckily, in my case, and also like the poem, like he says, quoting from the poem, love that disappeared mysteriously came back like water bubbling from underground, cleansed from its long journey in the dark. Right in the open, there it is, waiting for someone to arrive and kneel and drink from it. And luckily, in my case, love swept me away, swept me aside, despair overwhelmed me, and I became acutely aware of love's impermanence for the first time. And I wish at that time I had known the song, Watch What Happens, that I sang part of it earlier today. It's a song that, to me, talks about, although love is impermanent and you don't know what's going to happen, you have to watch what happens. You have to put yourself out there and you have to take a chance. Just do it anyway. And I love the opening line to the song. Let someone start believing in you. And we first have to say, ask ourselves, am I a person worth believing in? We have to do that first. We believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every person, but make sure you include yourself in there as well. Include yourself within that circle. Sometimes, the good news is that you'll find a place within you that you didn't know exists when you do that kind of work. A place that you never knew existed, or a place that you had covered up long ago, that you were alienated from. You couldn't possibly imagine even existing. And if this is the state you find yourself, you probably need to do some work to explore and undo that so you can believe that you are a person with inherent worth and dignity, that somebody can believe in you, so that you wouldn't need to be a chameleon and change into a background like I used to do. I've grown a lot since those days, but as a young person, I think young people, it's hard. You don't have anything to compare it to. It's a struggle for you young folks. So if you take a chance and get out there, put yourself out there, take a chance. I can promise you that you're going to fail. You're going to fall, you're going to stumble, you're going to make mistakes. The good news is that most people won't notice. Most people, they're all wrapped up in their own things, their own insecurities, to worry about yours. But the good news, I believe, is that there will be someone who will notice, someone who will find you, someone who is taking a risk, someone who saw you stumble and that will resonate with them. Someone who may look in your heart and see in your eye, look into your eyes and see into your heart and want to see you for who you are. So let them find you and watch what happens.